The number one complaint I hear from small business owners is good help's hard to find, good help is hard to keep. We normally start out with the venture, we get some customers, we onboard them, we're making money, and then somewhere around 500,000 to $1 million, you start to realize that if you want to be bigger than just owning a job, so to speak, you're gonna have to hire people onto your team to start doing the fulfillment side. But when you try to hire the people, you find out that they don't care as much about your business as you do, or not everyone's got the go-getter attitude that you do, right? Isn't that one super annoying when you feel like you're pouring out all your time and energy into somebody and then they just don't even care about it? So welcome back to another episode of Forward Facing Business, the show for businesses making 1 million to 6 million EBITDA that want to grow to 10 to 12. This question came from a friend of mine. He runs a building service at about $6 million EBITDA. He and his partner were already feeling the pinch on supervising the job sites, right? Getting people out there, making sure that if he lands a $500,000 home build or a $300,000 renovation, that somebody's actually gonna do the work. His actual question was, I'm sharing the screen here, I've got a presentation going. If you wanna get the actual outline, just comment down below and I'll send you a link for it. But what he asked was, how do you become as efficient as possible? Because I can't hire as many people as I need yet. And there's a couple reasons for that. Either you don't have the money for it, you don't have the training for it, or what you're really seeing, what we're gonna talk about this presentation, is it's just really hard to get into the talent pool also, right? The main points here, good help is hard to find. When you're in that $1 million to $6 million range, you don't have $200,000 a year to pay someone. You might, you're just not thinking about that yet, but it's a lot harder to swallow that salary. Does that make sense? Good help is hard to keep. You start someone with good attitude and aptitude, you bring them on board, you train them up, and then they go work for a larger company. Most owners, what I've found is you want to avoid difficult conversations. You're not willing to talk to the employee when things aren't going sideways, and you're not willing to interview correctly too. My main point when I talk to owners is you can't get over the fact that you can only pay 60 to 80,000 a year, right? Maybe some of you guys are paying 150. A lot of you guys wish you could pay yourself 150. So the thought of paying someone 180 to 200 is crazy. So you have to find the ways to optimize your business and set up those processes to get, I hate the word average, but to get decent talent in to run your business and to grow that EBITDA. Does that make sense? So what's the actual current landscape? This is what I realized when I was working with contractors in California. In California, an Uber driver in a major city could go out, they could earn the equivalent of 20 to 40 bucks an hour. You're offering in California now $20 an hour. I remember being on a job site once and I was punching a 2-inch hole saw through a wall and I like wrenched it all the way around and nearly snapped my wrist. And I remember thinking to myself, I had been in the corporate world before that making 6 figures. And I was like, man, I just risked life and limb for freaking 20 bucks an hour. Well, it doesn't take someone else long to realize that they can drive for Uber for 20 bucks an hour. I was with my wife traveling the other day and Buc-ees had a big old sign outside that said they're starting their managers at $150,000. Which one of you home service companies is paying your manager $150,000 a year, right? Okay, Wawas, I'm gonna show you their actual benefits page. Wawas, I learned about this when I was a recruiter for the military. Wawas had a whole benefit package, and that was back in 2008. So I went back to their webpage today, and look at these things. 401k company match. Do you have a company match, Mr. Small Business? Employee stock ownership plan, medical, dental, and vision. These are the high school dropouts, graduates, didn't go to college yet, maybe just out of college that you're trying to hire into your company, and you don't have these things because you don't have the backing of a national corporate enterprise to back you up. Does that make sense? The main point here is you're in competition and you have to accept that. A lot of owners spend a ridiculous amount of time just complaining about how much the employee workforce sucks, but then they never think about how they can optimize their own environment to attract that talent and keep that talent longer. Does that make sense? Good help is hard to keep. You should pride yourself on this actually. I've managed 40-something people now directly on the corporate side, and my largest team was 23. I was thrilled when I onboarded them through my operations team, got them into a new skill set, and then somebody like the product team would come along and scoop them up for $101,000 a year. I remember one of the guys that worked for me at one company, years later, I was trying to figure out how to go remote in a specific discipline. Well, he was leading my whole department, and I asked him how much he was making. He was getting 140 at that time, which is was on the low side for his job, but still, he went from 80 to 140. So it's great if you think about you as the leader getting these people up and out, but it sucks as a small business owner if you know you're going to teach them something important and they're going to leave. But there's a secret we're going to talk about toward the end of this about how you maximize them at your company so that the next person that come on gets up to speed quicker and creates value for longer, right? Before you let him or her go. The other problem I have with owners complaining so much is that you're scared of the difficult conversations. And I know that sounds like just a platitude, but if you're not willing to talk to an employee about the expectations or tell them very clearly that you're disappointed or unsatisfied or this didn't meet your standards, you drag this series of events on for like 6 months. You know, it's like a scab that you're just barely picking at instead of dressing the wound properly and like getting that taken care of. You'd rather come complain to me about how bad it is than just sit down with him or and have that conversation. I remember I was consulting for these contractors. They had like pretty sure it was $12 million. You'll have to forgive me if I was wrong, but it was from $4 to $12 million contract with the Army Corps of Engineers. They were doing earthwork. They were building levees in a parish in Louisiana, not far from where I'm at now. Well, they didn't like the guy they hired as the project manager, and they had to have the project manager to get the contract. So I was in there like 2 weeks later, and this guy had just bought I don't know why I remember this, but this guy just bought a brand new F-150, and he pulled up to the trailer, the construction trailer we're in, and we'll call him Jim. And I was like, hey, Jim, come on over here for a minute. We got to have a talk. And so I had to sit him down and have this difficult conversation with him because I've fired like 12 people in my career. So I'm a little more comfortable just having this authentic conversation with the person about how it's working or not working. So business owners will avoid this thing like they're freaking drinking hot lava or something. So if you're not willing to have these difficult conversations, you'll never course correct in your business. The problem with this is that the employee churn is a time and money suck. And not to mention some of the faithful and loyal team members that you do have, you know who they are, they're getting screwed on this one. When you keep people that suck at their job or aren't quite fitting the bill, then you're hurting the people that are treating you the best. You know what I mean? The core of forward-facing business is about 3 things. And listen, I have done operations for companies that are $700 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue, for $100 million in annualized contract value, for $40 million in consulting fees on an annual basis. I've done this for small companies, for contractors, for construction, for whatever. We all face the same problems, and it's always solved with the same 3 things. As a business owner that wants to scale, if you want to fit into that Jim Collins good to great, you have to learn how to optimize, organize, and operationalize. What's unfortunate is I put it in the label here, this is really for business growth beyond $6 million, which is why I'm talking to business owners that make $1 to $6 million that want to hit that 10 to 12 million range. You can fake it. If you're 2 to 3 people, you can get to $6 million and you're fine. You're all stressed out. Your wife is wondering why you hate everything. The thing is, once you get serious about this, you're going to have to focus on these core tenets of optimizing, organizing, and operationalizing. Also, in this case, what you're struggling with in this specific example is getting the right people, right? So you're not organized. You haven't gotten the right people in the right seats so that the bus goes in the right direction. It's my favorite that I read that book when I was in the military. I had been in the military for 12 years. One of the main reasons that I left active duty, everyone thought I was crazy, was because I read that book and I realized that I was doing it all wrong. We'll rant about the military another day, but you got to get the right people in the right seat if you want the bus to go in the right direction. So what I can maximize then is the optimize and the operationalize, right? So let's look at what that looks like. On optimization, can you find, let's stick with home services because the question came from a builder. I'll show you a screenshot of one of these. Can you find systems that do your CPQ? This is your configuration, pricing, and quoting tool. Think about this. I did some consulting work for Daimler, Mercedes-Benz, and they were trying to integrate their configurator. Well, configurator is like how you would customize a car and then order it directly to your house. That's more common, not in the United States, but overseas. They would pick the trim, they would pick the leather, they would pick the vent package. That's a configurator. Well, if you have a home services, what if you had a well-dressed guy in a polo like me that had a tablet that showed up and was tapping through configuration? And as he or she did the configuration, that produced the pricing. And then from that pricing, when the customer sees it and likes it, it sends out that quote, right? You don't need a subject matter expert anymore in foundation and the cost per cement and how much the linear footage average price for a fence is and what it takes to put a garage in. You know what I mean? So what would it look like in your business if you could spin a new employee up in 2 weeks? Your goal should be to be able to take any strong aptitude and attitude prospect out of high school, early college, and plug him or her in the business. So you want to hire for attitude and aptitude and not necessarily have to worry about drywall experience or if the person's ever done tiling or if the person knows the difference between a live oak and a rock on the ground. Do you know what I mean? This is a screenshot. It's called Builder Trend. I've never used them specifically. It's just an example. See the guy here holding the telephone up and he's taking a picture. I've seen this for roofing companies. I've seen this for contractors to help quote out a whole job. This is common in almost every industry now, but you could custom build it. If you're an HVAC company, you know how much your raw equipment costs. You know how much your hours are. You know how much your consulting fees are, et cetera. So the point is, find these systems that allow you to optimize your business development and stop leaning on key person risk. Stop leaning on old Jim, who's 55 years old, who's been in the business 25 years and who's holding you hostage on salary because he's the only one that knows the difference between a train and a coal. And did I say a coalman? Did I say that? I don't know if I said the HVAC stuff right. So the other thing that's kind of an unpopular opinion in this situation is you have to focus on systems first. I know it's a common adage to talk about people, processes, and systems, right? Oh, we're people first. Well, you're kind of wrong in that sense. What you are is you first. You're the business. So you're the people that created the business first, and that matters more than anything. Your family, your wife, your partner, those are the people. So let's be clear about that. But that already existed. It's like the chicken and the egg thing. Then you create a business. Well, you need to think constantly. You need to flip that around and say, I need to think about my systems. So for my CRM side, that's Salesforce.com. For a lot of small businesses, that's HubSpot. What if you're using Squarespace as your web host instead of WordPress, et cetera? Well, if you go out and hire a WordPress expert on the people side, but your whole business runs on Squarespace because it makes more sense for your business, then you mess up the people side. Are you tracking? This is important because I want you to think about your business and find the systems that get you to fulfillment, that get you all the way to the business development, the quoting, receiving purchase orders, QuickBooks, et cetera, and then find the people that are qualified in those systems and run those systems or show the attitude and aptitude to learn those systems. This is huge. Are you following me on this one? Okay, finally, processes then become the documentation of what it takes for the people you hired to use your systems. So it's not backward, it's just slightly out of order. The processes are almost, when you look at the private equity world, that's almost the stuff that you can sell for the 2 to 3 multiple. It's not so much that you have 7 vans if you're a plumbing company. It's that you have a sales process. It's that you have dozens of script to overcome objectives. It's that you have customer service on specific workflows. Those processes are really where the millions of dollars are at. So the systems will come and go. And honestly, if you get too dependent on systems, they can hold you hostage. Salesforce.com is like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year for some companies now. Well, what if you want to move to some open source CRM like Sugar CRM or go back to HubSpot? The point is, processes are where you as the business owner can leverage instantly, not having an army of good people backing you up. Does that make sense? So an amazing case study on this, and I can't take credit for this. The logo's on the top right. This is Fruition RevOps, but I've known about the McDonald story since I first read, I think it is in Good to Great. And if it's not in Good to Great, it's in, it's another great business book. If I think about it, I'll put it in the comments. But the old saying is McDonald's processes and systems are so good that a 16-year-old boy or girl can run the whole store. Think about that. Billions of burgers sold at this point, if not the largest real estate owner in the world next to the Catholic Church, maybe, definitely way up there in holdings. I remember I worked at McDonald's when I was very young. They had a chart above the fries, and you salted the fries in the shape of an arch, of the golden arches, like McDonald's, right? Well, one of the reasons that McDonald's fries taste the same, whether you're in Tokyo, Dublin, or Denver, is because every freaking acne face 16-year-old there is grabbing the same silver drum of salt with the same grain size salt and doing the same double arch on the salt. Do you know what I mean? And if you ask for fries with no salt, they run a whole new batch and put it in a different thing. So the processes are what will make you into an empire, and the processes are what make you as the owner going out there and creating the leads and closing this business. It's what will make you confident in the quality fulfillment of your service or product. Look at the McDonald's stories and take a page of that. I would sit down every day, ask yourself, what are my double arches? How can I tell the laborers, for example, that before you leave, if you want to collect your paycheck on Friday, you have to have 17 photos in your phone on the app that I gave you, and there can't be any trash in the corners of the site. Do you know what I mean? That's a process. That's a checklist. That's a dummy-proof checklist. Did I clean up the nails? Did I stack the lumber over here for the returns? Did I take 17 photos with the whole flow chart pointing out which part of the houses or the sites to take? Did I upload it into system XYZ? And did I clean up the trash? Check, 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 check. Paycheck every Friday. Do you know what I mean? Don't dismiss this as overly simplistic. I'm telling you, this is $1 million play right here. Figure out how you optimize using systems and then bring your processes in place to see what you can do to make your business scale from that $1 to $6 million range to the $10 to $12 million range. If you like this episode, I want you to like and subscribe. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any specific questions. I'll see you in the next one.